Oh, I am Mac, at least for a day, and everything's going to be okay. I am joined today by the Meatwad show. He's one of my viewers, and he wanted to have a conversation with me about No Man's Sky. You there?
Yes, yes.
Great. So, what do you want to talk about?
So, one of the points in one of your videos that you were talking about was stuff to add to freighters, and like, I don't know if you or any of the viewers have ever played a game. I think it's on Xbox and PC. It's called Stellaris. Um, and it's like you create your own colony and you like lead your people from like the Stone Age to like space travel and stuff like that. But like
Cool.
in the game, it's all like procedural generation too. But in the game, there's random events. So like you can have like a alien invasion or some sort of like ancient robot army come back and just cause a bunch of a mess for you and your people and your like space fleets and stuff like that. Well, the big thing I've been hearing a lot about in this next update is that there's supposed to be a menace, like a potential new like threat, um, a I don't know if it's going to be a large like if it's only going to be on planets, kind of like Sentinels, and they'll spawn here and there. But what I was really thinking is what Hello Games needs to do is they need to make it kind of like a galactic threat. Like, like when you go to the galaxy map and you see all the planets and all that, maybe you can see where they're like coming in through, like maybe they're coming in through a black hole, or maybe they've harnessed the power of the black hole to be able to come into your bases and your not bases. What I mean is like your home planets and your like star systems, and they're just causing uh, a bunch of crap for like the Viking and the Gek and the Korvax. Um, and I really the one of the points I wanted to bring up is I really think for No Man's Sky's longevity and just for something to kind of get players back into it is we got to have something that's going to push the player towards something. Like what's our freighters are cool and all, but like maybe for the expanding of the gameplay and the loop that we're currently in, you have to like maybe warp to their sector that they're breaching through, and you could lose you can lose your frigates, not your freighter per se, but let's say your freighter can take a lot of damage or something. It could get damaged and you could lose frigates. Now I know people would say, well, I have S-class frigates and stuff like that, I don't want to lose it. But that would be the risk reward system of it, where it'd be like, all right, you're going into this, it's a space battle, and then you got to like breach in, you know
Um,
are you willing to gamble that?
can, can you explain a little more about what these enemies you're talking about would be like?
So it could be really anything. And well, there's two things I'm thinking of right now. It could be an ancestor of the living ships that we've seen in some
Ooh.
sort, or the living ships.
Yeah, I said, ooh, that
Um,
sounds cool.
oh yeah. So I thought you said
Yeah.
what was that or something? Sorry.
No.
Um, um, or it could be a play on the Sentinels. Like we've seen, I've been doing a mission where you have to like summon or find a lost life form in the galaxy, and you come across these like crazed sentinels. They have like five eyes or something. They're pretty easy to kill, but it could be a
Hmm.
play on them. It could
Yeah.
be like an infection in the system. um, but for me, the point of it is like I want them to not be like ruthless, but they got to be a threat. Like, what are they doing that's threatening to the player?
Hmm.
And it has to be a threat to the player and the surrounding galaxy. Like, not just killing your player or something, but like, what can you lose that it's like, okay, we have to take care of these people, or
Yeah.
we're going to be in trouble here. And I think that if they added that as a threat or some sort of event, maybe not an expedition, but an event, um, I think that would bring a lot of players back and would bring in new ones too because I mean, I know Hello Games released The Last Campfire, but No Man's Sky is their bread and butter as of right now.
Yeah, I've talked about the corrupted sentinels before. I mean, they're really cool looking, but like you said, they're really not that much of a threat. They're actually less of a threat than normal sentinels because when you kill corrupted sentinels, they you don't like get out, you don't have a wanted level and it doesn't spawn more or anything. They're actually an easier opponent to deal with than the sentinels. So yeah, it would be really nice if they would expand on the corrupted sentinels, make them an actual threat that is like worse than the Sentinels. Like you said, they could be attacking an entire system where there could be corrupted Sentinel motherships in the star system, and they're like going around attacking everything. Um, and like you said, making problems for the other alien races. And yeah, it doesn't make sense for them to have added corrupted Sentinels, but they aren't hardly in the game, and there's no lore behind how the Sentinels got corrupted, and they're not any more of a threat than regular Sentinels. It's a larger part of the problem that I have with Hello Games keeps adding a lot of features to No Man's Sky, but they never improve upon those features. They just keep adding more
Yes,
new features. Like they added the
yes,
mech suit, but they never supported it to make it better in later updates. They've done a few adjustments with vehicles, but for the main part, they've just been adding more vehicles like the motorcycle, the submarine. They don't go back and improve the Nomad and the Pilgrim and the Colossus to make them actually more useful. And then there's lots of other base building parts, machines and stuff that they've added, but they haven't gone back and assessed, is this actually useful in the game? Are people using it? How can we improve this so that it's
yeah,
actually something useful in the game? And then Corrupt Sentinels is another one of those. Corrupted Sentinels are a neat little thing that they threw into the Visions update, but they never developed on them to make them an interesting part of the game. You barely ever even see them.
yes. Well, and to add to that, I've been playing this since it first came out. I bought a PlayStation 4 specifically for this game, and we all know how the launch of this game went, but the point of it is the features that they have added, they've done a great job of adding stuff and really keeping this game alive for as long as they did. I would agree with you on that they need to adjust and go back and say, okay, we have a submarine. That's okay for the underwater stuff. We have plenty of vehicles. Let's not waste any time adding any new vehicles. We don't need any new like earth to ground vehicles. We need to improve on what we have and give the player a reason to use these vehicles because and I don't know how you play, but besides driving the car or using the mech suit, which I'm just going to hop in my ship and fly over to where I need to go, hop out, spin the launch thruster recharge thing, and just get the mission done quick because I don't have any desire to just drive from one end to the other and take 20 minutes doing it. Um, but and again, that's just me. I'm not saying that I'm the same for everybody, but I think that if they gave players more of an incentive to be like, hey, you want to actually go and build these structures and build these facilities so that you can unlock X, Y, and Z, and it's going to be profitable for you just as it would be flying your ship over there or um, finding some sort of different way because I you said something. They just keep adding features.
Hmm.
That's the thing too. Is like they'll go back like through visions and prisms and stuff like that. They'll go through and update some stuff. Like they'll be like, oh well, in the oceans, we've updated the artwork. We've changed a lot of stuff. We added new plants. Okay, that's cool and all, but I don't have a reason to go back there. And unless I want to look at the plants. Not that that's not good stuff. Always adding variation is a key element to keeping this game alive. But we got to have a reason to be there. We got to have a reason to do something besides getting that one-off crafting ingredient that we need to put up a light bulb or something. Um, and the corrupted sentinels, like you were talking on them, the lore. I want to know what's behind them. What corrupted them? Is it a virus? Is it a different alien race? Um, is it a what is it and why are they here? What's the point of them? I'm not saying any of this is a criticism. It's just as a player of as this game for as long as it's been out, and I've took breaks here and there. I've always said that this game, it's got the exploration it needs. It can always use some fine tunings, but they have to refine the combat. That has to be refined to get people to come back and to have that player loop as fresh as it needs to be.
Yeah, while you were talking, I had some other ideas. Like I was saying, they should go back and tighten up a lot of the features so that they work well together. And you were talking about base building and stuff. And the idea I had was there's a lot of games. They're kind of like strategy games where you basically build this factory and like everything interconnects and there's conveyor belts and stuff like that. They
Yeah.
could do something similar to that with No Man's Sky, not by adding a lot of new stuff, but um, the features that we got a couple years ago in the Beyond update, the miner, everybody mines indium now, and there's also gas extractors, and of course the power, the magnetic power things, and all of that. What they could do is instead of just having those separate things, they could make it so that you need to build all of them in order for them to work. So
Yes.
first of all, they would have to change it so that the hot spots are closer together. The problem is you can pretty much only have one hot spot per base because they're so far apart. Sometimes you can get two if you're lucky, two different types of hot spots nearby, but they should make the hot spots a lot more plentiful and a lot closer together. You would still have to search a little bit to find the right kinds close together, but it would be possible to find them together. And then basically you would not be able to power them with solar and the biogenerator thing. Those would be too weak. You would need a much stronger power source. So the electromagnetic hotspots would be a requirement in order to power these things. And then also the miners, in addition to needing to be powered by the magnetic devices, would also require gas in order to power them or something like that. So you would have gas extractors at a gas hotspot, magnetic, the magnetic things, whatever they're called, I forget, gathering energy, and those would all connect into the miner devices. And then finally, the mining devices would be able to start mining once they were powered with both energy and the gases that would, somehow help with the machinery or something like that. So uh, that would also fix the problem a lot of people complained about, that everybody just builds an indium mine and that's it. That's all you really need to make money anymore. You don't need to do anything else in the game to make money, because having an activated indium mine will pretty much give you limitless money. And like I talked about in a previous video, the main purpose of just about all the activities in No Man's Sky is to make money. So the indium
Yes.
mines have kind of ruined the game, unless you swear off building an indium mine and do other stuff instead. It basically ruins the game because you've got this perfect source of money and there's no reason to do anything else in order to get money. Obviously, you need to collect nanites and also quicksilver, but as far as units go, you're set once you have a big activated indium mine. So it would be better if they made it so that there's a lot more that you need to do in order to build that indium mine. You need to set up the magnetic power thing and the gas extractors, connect those all together somehow, so that it would at least take a lot more effort in order to build an indium mine.
Oh yeah. And I fully agree with that. And I've always when I watch your videos in the past, one thing I'd always agree on with you is like you you address like, hey, we need to make some crafting stuff a little, maybe a little bit more challenging to get, maybe have a process that you don't just go up to a terminal and you put in like scavenging data or lost you know information things that you can get and then you unlock the blueprint. I've and what and I as I said I agree. What I would do if I was Hello Games, I wouldn't do the cheap way. I wouldn't be like, okay, well, we're just going to make it harder for you to craft it. I mean, you can, but don't do it to where it's like, all right, well, we're going to double the resources it takes, and
Yeah.
then in order to get the resources, it's going to be only rare resources. Um, because to me, I feel like that's not a cop out, but it's just a cheap way of doing like fixing a problem.
Yeah.
And I've I have long since said that I don't think they will do it, but if they had to, I'd be like, if you have to like say, okay, guys, we're going to be implementing an economy reset. We're resetting the economy. We're adjusting some stuff. Um, we're going to be, we're going to be changing, not adding microtransactions or anything like that, but we're going to be changing the economy. And I would, if it was me, I would find a replacement and get rid of units. Um, that might be easier said than done. And again, I don't work there, but as you said, I mean, there's so many players right now. I mean, I've actually never heard of that. I've only just been back playing this the last month, and I only have 125 million units. I didn't know that there was an exploit for the indium mines, but
Well,
I
it's not an
feel like for the
exploit. It's not an exploit. It's actually just a thing that's in the game that pretty much ruins the economy. So it's
oh
intentional, unfortunately.
well, yeah, like, well, I mean, with that even said, first off, I would take that out completely. I mean,
Yeah.
people would be like, well, I would find a way to just be like, look, you just cannot mine certain resources. It requires this, or with that type of machinery. Um, but I think the best way to do it is not just reset the economy because people could just set up, they'll find, and the thing is, they'll find mining opportunities and exploits in any game. You can't make it 100% foolproof, but you can make, and I know that's not an exploit, but you can make it harder for people to do that. Um, and I think maybe swapping over to a different type of currency in the game and saying, okay, well, you go up to a space station for every, couple hundred million or a million or 1,000 units you have, it equals out this money, and we're rebalancing the economy. Or you don't even have to do like a currency exchange, like you're not going to another country or something like in real life, but um, they can find a way to say, okay, we need to rebalance the economy because when that happens, players are going to be engaged in doing all these activities such as mining, building underwater bases, and um, exploring, doing all that. And I honestly think that will be a good key, another key for them to say, okay, we're going to increase the longevity and playtime of our game and sales of our game with this because people are going to be, maybe make a requirement where it's like, hey, you got to have a group of two or three um, in order to complete this objective. And I know some people say, well, I don't have PlayStation Network and all that. Um, well, then make it harder for the single player to acquire it, but if you're running multiplayer, maybe have where it's like, okay, you need two people uh, to build this resource or something. I'm not a game designer. I can only say what I think, but something's got to be done. I didn't
Yeah.
even know about that exploit though.
Yeah, yeah. If you ask around the community, most people will say they just build an India mine and then that's like all they need to do to make money.
Yeah.
But I was thinking, You were talking about don't just increase the recipe. Um, the important thing is don't make crafting harder, make it more enjoyable, make it more fun. There's a lot of games where the crafting system is so much fun because it's so complex. Like one game I played, Boundless, the way the crafting system works was you had many different machines um, that you would craft things in, and they would take time, and it would basically be different types of machines, and you had to do different crafting in all of them in order to get all the components and eventually make a finished product. No Man's Sky has the beginnings of that. We have the
Yeah.
refiners. So we've got the refiners, but and they did kind of a recipe system with the refiners. It's kind of a hidden recipe system where there's some different things you can do to combine things to make new items, but I mean, hardly anybody takes advantage of that, and it's not at all a core part of the game. They
Yeah.
should they should make it so they should make a new crafting system where you would want to build a whole bunch of refiners, and you would be crafting something different on all of them because you would have multiple components, and then you put them together to make some special item for some special purpose. That would make that system a lot more interesting, instead of, well, yeah, just about the only thing close to that is the stasis devices and the fusion igniters. There's a whole bunch of different items you need to craft, but you just craft those in your inventory. You got to craft the conductor and change or semiconductor and craft it into a superconductor and a bunch of other items like that, and they all eventually combine into the stasis devices and things like that, and those sell for a whole bunch of money. But it would be cooler if we had to use the refiners for that, and it would take time, and so you would collect a whole bunch of the base resources, put them into the refiners, and then all of your refiners would be working at the same time, and you would finally get all the items, then combine them all together into the finished product. That would make the crafting system a lot more interesting instead of just crafting things in your inventory. That's just one idea I
Yes.
had.
Well, and you're right on the money, man. And like the thing is too is a lot of these fixes we're talking about, an economy reset, crafting updates, making the game a little bit more streamlined and fun to play. They don't have to update this. They don't have to be like, okay, we're putting this all these changes, all these. I wouldn't call them hot fixes because they're not. It's not a bug, but they could put all of these adjustments and changes into just a prisms or visions type update, and they can make it. I think that player testing, player feedback is key to a lot of these things. Um, there was a guy you had on here one time, and he was talking about, like, you guys were talking about like how to improve the game, kind of exactly what we're doing,
Yeah.
but he made a statement, and they can also throw this in there too. He made something where it's like going to the Nexus, going to do missions needs to be more fun. I've been playing for the last month, and I think I've grouped up with two groups to do Quicksilver missions, and that's it. Um, I end up just not grouping up with anyone because, like,
Yeah.
I have to wait. I'm sitting there, and then they take forever to join, and I'm like, you know what? I could have already been halfway done with this.
Yeah.
Um, so I just pack it up and I go. I think within this new update, they if they add a menace, like, let's say, for example, let's say it's the corrupt sentinels. We find out what it is. It's a big baddie, as you said, with like mothership freighters and frigates, and it's a bad, like, this is just bad, no, not good news. What they could do is they could say, okay, we're going to add power ratings, kind of like light levels in Destiny 2, but again, no microtransactions, nothing like that. Meaning you have to get like a certain level of gear, a gear level, not RNG loot, but you have to get specific gear for your ship and for your character, and you can only do this through the multiplayer sessions. You can earn some of it on single player, but to get the best stuff, you need to play with somebody. Um, and I think that's safe to say now because most players that are playing this game, they have an internet connection, they have some sort of way to get through to somebody, and but for those who don't, make a path for them as well. But they can fix that by saying, okay, you got to get this gear score, and then you and the four players, it's a four-man raid, you warp into the system, and there's like, it's like a Mass Effect 3 ending level. Spoilers here if no one's played it, I'm not spoiling any story points, but when you warp into the Earth in Mass Effect 3's ending, you fly in with a bunch of frigates and ships, and it's like it's insane. It's like the build up, and have it be like that where it's like a raid. You warp in and you guys have a series of objectives to complete, maybe like blow up this freighter and then put an EMP pulse through their reactor, and then once that's done, the shields are down, board the ship, destroy it from the inside, kind of make it like a Star Wars Battlefront 2 on the PS2 space battle, where it's like you're just bobbing and weaving through this. And the reason why I throw that stuff out is because, and I keep kind of bringing up the combat, is because I love the space combat in this game, and I love the combat in this game, and I really want it to be refined because they can do so much with it, and I just, in my opinion, I just feel like it's kind of been tossed to the wayside. Of course, you can get new weapons and upgrades, but it's just something I feel like they're like, oh, okay, the game's mostly about exploring, and it is. It's about mining and all that, and maybe too, like kind of what you were saying is maybe add some of these like gear score stuff to mining. Make it be like, well, in order to get this, you need to mine this element with this machine or something. That's just something I was thinking of.
You were talking about the Mass Effect thing, the big battle and all that. Yeah, that's really cool. Obviously, we gotta remember that things like that would take a whole lot of work for them to do. They could concentrate on doing something like that. I do like to try to think of things that are a little simpler that they could do, that might not take quite so much work. Oh my gosh! I just discovered that you can ride on your beetle when it's on the ground and it becomes a ground mount. That's crazy. Sorry. Anyway,
It's really cool.
yeah. So my idea was, uh, like you said, the missions in the Nexus aren't great for multiplayer. Like a few times, people have tagged along with me, and doing those as multiplayer, they're supposed to be the multiplayer missions, but doing them with other players don't really enhance them much. They basically just make them go a little faster 90% of the time. Like, in fact, I don't, yeah, none of the missions are even. We used to have missions where you would go to a manufacturing facility. It was actually one of the freighter missions back when the missions that are now the Nexus missions were in freighters, but they would
Yes.
send you to a manufacturing facility and there'd be a ton of walkers and sentinel dogs and stuff. And so it was actually designed for multiplayer where, you know, potentially a group of people would have to fight all those sentinels in order to get into the manufacturing facility. Although I just skipped that. I could just run past the sentinels and go inside the manufacturing facility, you know, interact with it just like normal, and then run away from all the sentinels outside, as usual. But my point is, they need to actually design the Nexus missions to be really good for multiplayer and really enhanced by multiplayer. A super simple thing they could do is they could make a Nexus mission that has you go to derelict freighters. Derelict
Yes.
freighters,
Yes.
as I talked about a lot, is my favorite thing in the game right now, and it's the best thing for multiplayer. When I've had people on my streams join me for derelict freighters, it was a lot of fun because you have all these tons and tons of little abomination creatures, and it really helps to have other players with you to help you kill all of those. And so that's one of the few times that having another player around is really, really useful. So they should make going to a derelict freighter a Nexus mission. That they could make it a weekly mission or make it a rare mission because I mean normally they want you to, although I guess they could require you to get your own freighter finder. That way they're not just giving you a free derelict freighter. So the mission would say obtain a whatever the thing is called that makes you scan for a derelict freighter. And once you obtain
Yeah.
that and you call the freighter and you go in it and finish it, and then you would complete the Nexus mission. Make that a Nexus mission that you would want to get other players for so they could help you kill all of the little creatures and stuff. That would be a great way to enhance multiplayer and it wouldn't take any programming hardly at all. It would just take a tiny bit of programming to make the Nexus mission, and it would be a huge enhancement to multiplayer and doing Nexus missions with other players.
Yes, yes, and I 100%. I'm gonna tell you something, man. When that uh, derelict freighter update came, that got me back into the game. I was like,
Yeah,
okay, I got to play it now. um, because like for me, prisms and like visions, I wasn't like, oh man, I got to hop back on it now. But when I seen new gameplay, like new stuff to do, I was like, oh, this is gonna be neat. And I'm with you on that. I think the derelict freighters. I think you're. I would do everything you said, and I would expand on them. I would say, okay, we're going to make these raids kind of. And it's going to take a little work, but I mean, they can assign. They built this game with 9 people when it first came out. To make a raid, I don't think would take that. Again, I'm not a video gamer or a video game maker, but I don't think would take that many people and resources. Um, and what I mean by make it a raid is like obviously have your standard derelict freighters, but for the Nexus ones, they're special. Like they're big like freighters where you land in and you can explore the hangar. And the hangar maybe like have some like Dead Space kind of vibes where it's like dark and it's kind of creepy and you don't know what happened on this ship, and your job is to maybe be like you and your team. You go there, and you guys have to split up. Maybe you guys got to go on. One guy has to go to the engineering at level, and the other guy needs to go to the life support level. And you guys have to like, maybe activate the oxygen sensors, and you have to communicate with one another. And um, maybe the guy that goes to the bridge. Let's say you got to go to the bridge, and you got to restore power to engineering before the guy at engineering can do his part. And what I mean by that is make it something specifically just for multiplayer. Make these not available for people playing by themselves because you have to have players. The gameplay requires players to do it, and they don't have to make 15 new enemy types. Make 3. Three new enemy types, or maybe even use some of the aliens from the whispering eggs, like when you zap one of those and those like the green alien hammerhead aliens
yep,
come out of the ground. Maybe add some variations to those, because I've always liked those things, and I'm like, I want to see more of them. I want to see the alien queen, or I want to see a spitter, or maybe like a brute version of it, and or little babies that like run around the floor of the freighter, and make it something like, oh crap, I have this, make it, and that'll give players a reason to get a better multi-tool, or
yeah,
to do stuff like that, and then play and communicate. That's the other thing. I get on here and nobody talks. Nobody like is in game
yeah.
chat. Yeah, I mean, and be like, you guys have to communicate. You have to
The
communicate with this.
I think there is, or there was supposed to be a way to type to communicate on PC. I don't know why they never made that for, consoles, because I mean, we can have a keyboard, we can buy a USB keyboard and put it in our console and have it. So there's no reason they couldn't add text support to allow us to communicate in No Man's Sky. Same with the voice chat. I guess voice chat still exists, but it never seems to turn on for me. Or maybe I just disabled it. I don't know. But yeah, they need to make some better way for us to communicate besides emotes in No Man's Sky. But anyway, I want to mention real quick. I discovered something really cool while you were talking. I saw this NPC. He was like acting like he was typing on the terminal that lets you call your ship. I thought that was really cool. And then I talked to him, and he actually gave me a mission to find his missing friend. I mentioned this in a recent video, but I thought that the mission to discover a missing life form wasn't in the game anymore, but apparently they moved it so that you can get it from NPCs just on planets without using the space station missions. But anyway, that was just a side note
Oh
there.
no, I I agree, man. Like I think that's and see what you just seen, what you just did, that organic gameplay.
Mhm.
You went up to a guy typing on a thing and he gave you a mission. Like you didn't expect it. Now obviously I know that mission has been in the game, but and they moved it, but
Yeah,
like that type I don't want to just go to the space station or go to the Nexus and be like, oh, okay, I'm here to do my missions, gotta, do a checklist like Destiny 2 bounties. Not
yeah,
that there's a problem with that, and if people like that system, that's fine, but give me, while I'm exploring, something cool to do. Like, I
yeah,
come across a facility, and there's a guy behind the counter, and he's like, "Hey, bandits or sentinels attacked my base here, and and I know this sounds kind of like MMO RPG level quests, but it's something is better than nothing,
yeah,
and if this is stuff that anybody could add to the game, and it just be like, okay, we've added this, and this is what we're gonna, you go to this place, there's a guy that needs help, you got to go to a deposit. And fight off the sentinels and reclaim what they took from them, or fight off the corrupted sentinels or something like that. And you can adjust that, like have it be aliens or and have it just be organic where you just don't even see it coming. You just walk in and or maybe it's you go to a building and it's been attacked and you need to figure out what happened, and like who did this and why did they do this? Because I think a while back they hired the guy from BioWare, one of the writers from BioWare. I don't know who's the best fit for. I mean, I couldn't think of anyone better to be writing, side quest content and actually not. I mean, I wouldn't call it side quest, but really give it a good flavor. And give people a reason to get out and explore the planets and interact with the life forms, because like now if I see a building I'm like, does it have a landing pad? you know and if not, I'm just going to keep flying until I find, maybe something that I want, you know um but that's just me. I think I didn't even know that was a quest you could get outside of the Nexus, so I'll be
yeah.
sure to pop in and do that real quick.
Yeah, it seems there are. We knew that they did a update where they said they added chance encounters, but there are some really rare ones that I think a lot of people don't even know are in the game. Like usually the main one that you notice are when you go to a crashed ship and there'll be an NPC there and you're supposed to help them. But apparently there's a lot of quests that you can get from NPCs or just doing random things that will cause something. A friend of mine, he interacted with one of those devices that are on the ground. It's just like busted technology devices that you find everywhere. They've been in the game since day
Yeah.
one. But recently he interacted with one and it gave him a weird item. And then an NPC had spawned right there and he talked to them and they said they were looking for the device that he just got out of the machine. He gave it to them and he got a reward. So it seems that there are occasionally some really rare, unusual encounters that a lot of people aren't aware of. It'd be nice if they, did more of that and put a lot of different surprises and Easter eggs into the game, different situations that can arise just when you're wandering around on a planet. Obviously, if
Yes.
they put in too much, it would seem kind of artificial. But when you, like you said, when you have these organic unusual encounters when you're just messing around with stuff, it's a really good thing to encourage people to explore.
Well, and that's why like I love, and I'm not just trying to uh to boost your ego here, but I love your discussion videos, man, and and you are one of the some of the few YouTubers. I know this is off topic of the game, but you are some of the few YouTubers, are one of the few YouTubers that still do like No Man's Sky update speculation stuff. I know there are others, but like you're one of the OGs from Waking Titan, and like
Yeah.
the when they were sending out those cassette tapes, I remember going on Reddit and having an ARG and all that's cool and all. I just I've always said it like this, and you're right, and I just wanted to throw that in there as an appreciation for you, man, because you keep it up. I appreciate you making these videos and stuff, and
Well, thank
interacting
you.
with your community.
I
No problem.
appreciate that.
And one thing I would love for them to do is, obviously you're right. Like, don't just give me 12 or 25 or 80,000 random side quests where it's like go here, do this. No, because then it'll become kind of like the Nexus missions. But make it to where it's like not make it to where like players know about it at least.
Yeah.
you know, and I think that just to kind of re put on a point that I was saying earlier, when I was talking about the Mass Effect 3 like level battle, I'm not meaning the production level of that said battle. What I was meaning is like you guys warp in, your freighters warp in, and then it begins combat in that area. I obviously know like I'm not meaning them to put $5.8 million into an update.
Yeah.
Um, but I I think giving us some organic level questing, like right now I'm patrolling around in the forget what is the name of this vehicle, the Nomad, and like make it to where I find a crashed freighter in the ground, and you know there's a trail of make it like kind of like an explore like a mystery kind of thing where like there's a trail of broken salvage or maybe destroyed sentinel bodies in the ground, and you need to figure out who did it. Like, was there any survivors? And maybe you get to like a makeshift hut, and there's a guy that tells you what happened, and um, he needs your help, like get finding his friends or something. And I think that giving the player good like little bits of story beats um, and reasons to get out and explore and drive around and learn the knowledge, learn the words that these alien races speak. I think that I honestly think that's the best way to make this game a continually fun game where it's like, you know what? I'm going to log on tonight and I'm going to do a raid with me and my buddies, and then once we're done doing our multiplayer missions, for me to kind of like zen out before I go to bed, I'm just going to do some side questing. And um I'm just going to explore, I'm going to see what NPCs I encounter. Um I don't know. I've always felt like that was a little bit of a missed opportunity there. It's the organic side quests.
Yeah. An idea I had, you were talking about the big space battle idea, and something that they could do that could make that happen pretty easily is right now we have freighter battles. They only happen when we warp into a new system in our normal ship. And one of the problems with that is if you like to warp with your freighter, those battles never spawn. Like for a while, I was just warping with my freighter, and I realized that freighter battles never spawn when you warp in with your freighter. That's kind of messed up. That discourages you from using freighter warp because then you never get to do those freighter battles. And it would be
Yeah,
really cool if we could warp with our freighter, we'd warp into the system, there was a huge freighter battle going on around us, and then they could add not a super complex, but a simple way that we could do combat from in our freighter. So basically, there would be a turret control panel. You'd interact with that, and your camera would shift to the turrets on the outside of your freighter, and you would be able to aim and shoot at pirate ships and things like that from in your freighter so that you could have combat. And you could also order your frigates to attack, and so they would warp around. At least your combat frigates would warp
Yes.
around and shoot at the enemy. So you would be able to fight them with the turrets within the freighter, and then your frigates would help you fight, and then you'd be able to beat the pirates that way, or maybe even make it a bigger, larger scale battle, and you could like fire on the other freighters and stuff. If they were like freighters, or some new enemy type freighter that we could fight from within our ship. It'd be really cool to get to be a
Yes.
captain that would order your frigates to do stuff while you're also controlling the turrets and stuff like that. And it wouldn't
Well, and
it, it wouldn't take a huge
oh,
amount of more programming for them to create something like that, and it would be a lot of fun, I think.
oh yeah, yes, and I think if you could, for the viewers and everybody, I think if, as you could tell, I love space battles. I love the space battles. Like when Star Wars Squadrons, one of the things that No Man's Sky could kind of pull from them, and this would take nothing at all. Like I don't want to say that, but I don't think it would. Is like in Star Wars Squadrons when you would fly down and there's like an Imperial Star Destroyer. And you would destroy their turrets, like their little like AI controlled turrets. They're not a threat, but like you'd blow them up, and they'd go. The remaining parts would go floating off in space, and eventually disappear. It didn't just float forever and ever. Adding stuff like that, the tiny little details, and like that goes a long way in increasing the immersion, the the feeling when you're flying around on the in your ship and you're destroying, you're blowing up stuff. And the thing is too, when you were talking about freighters, your frigates, your combat frigates. I don't know if a lot of people know this, and I could be wrong, me not knowing that there's an India mine thing here. But if you get a pirate attack on your ship and you're close enough to your freighter, your frigates will assist you in destroying those ships. And um,
Yep.
so they already have the AI in there to help.
Yep.
They just need to add the features.
Yeah.
And I know we started this off with like, well, they're adding features but not flushing them out. What I would do to flush this out is like maybe have a reputation system, and I say this in a thing is like I think that people try to make it where it's like, okay, well, you're destroying space pirates. Well, what if you want to be a space pirate?
Yeah.
What if you're like, I'm going to attack those Gek supply frigates over there? You know, um, you're going to take a hit to reputation, but you can gain loot. And if you could become the Gek can become hostile to you when you fly into a system. And I honestly think that adding better fighting mechanics in space would give players a reason not to just warp around in to the space station, to the Nexus, to their freighter, and the occasional like, oh well, there's a there's a random encounter that I've seen 20 times already. Um, I really think that that would go a long way in increasing the multiplayer reliability and longevity of it because I look at this game and it's like for me it's like how do you make it more fun, more immersive and better for the community when it comes to longevity of the game.
Yeah.
And that's just something I've always been interested in. Like how do
Yeah.
we make this better?
Um, I hate to cut you off. We're almost out of time. I can't record more than an hour on my PlayStation. I want to have time to wrap this up. Do you make content on your channel, Meatwad?
Um I do not,
Oh, okay.
but
It's
I
it's
just
called
wanted to
it's called
interview
the meat.
with
It's
you, man.
called Yeah. It was called the Meatwad Show. So I thought maybe you had some kind of a show that you do it or something.
No, I need to. I might. I work a full time job with stuff
Yeah,
and whatnot. But I just wanted to get on here and hash some of my ideas out with you and hear what you
great.
had to say.
Yeah,
Um,
and maybe sometime we can talk again if you still have some more ideas um, that you still wanted to talk about. But yeah, I'm gonna wrap it up. And do you have anything else to say before we end?
Last thing I'll add is just thank you, man, for continuing coverage of this game, and I'm sincere about it. Thank you, man, because I know a lot of YouTubers that have started off in No Man's Sky, and they've came and went, and or they went on to other things, and you're still doing strong on this game, and thank you, man. I appreciate it.
Great. All right, so I've been Mac, and this has been the Meatwad Show. Thank you for joining us for a day. And remember, everything's going to be okay. Special thanks to my monthly supporters Shell Owens, JSpot51, Shannon and Jeremy, Marquis BS, Meg Payton, Renee McLeod. It's friends like you that motivate me to keep creating.